Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed Beyond. Today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey guys, welcome to season 2.
Yeah, season 2, like season 5 maybe? This is our 5th year doing it?
Well, it's our 101st episode, I think.
True, so season 1 was 100 episodes?
100 episode seasons.
Jeez. We might not ever leave season 2. And Mike?
Hello.
And I think for the first episode of 2022, we just kind of want to look back at the games released in 2021, talk about our personal games of the year and what games we kind of want to highlight. And I think a good vehicle to do that is to sort of discuss the Game Awards winners and nominations and just kind of use that as a springboard for some more discussion for games that we're interested in. Yeah, so the Game Awards happened in December, and I think out of all of the various years that this award show took place, the results were the most maybe unexpected, I think.
Really?
It's fair to say. I think so, right? Like,
I disagree. I think that it was pretty on the nose for what I would have expected.
So you think Game of the Year was expected?
Yeah, I do. I think
really. I don't think anyone else
picked at all, but I
don't think any other publication voted for that game as Game of the Year.
Really?
Just FYI. Yeah.
Huh. It didn't surprise me at all when I saw it.
It surprised me for sure.
Well, we're already talking about it, so why don't we just start with Game of the Year then? I mean,
so their nominees for Game of the Year were Resident Evil Village, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Psychonauts 2, Metroid Dread, and It Takes Two, and Deathloop. And It Takes Two won, which really surprised me. Like, I would have pegged them for, I would have pegged them picking either Deathloop or Metroid, I think.
Yeah, see, I would have
a weird set of nominees.
I would have picked Metroid probably, but I think if you picked Deathloop, you have terrible. Like anybody who's saying Deathloop for this has horrible tastes.
I mean, Deathloop
definitely isn't.
I think Deathloop is not in the same echelon as any of the other games on this list, in my opinion.
I think Deathloop is like winning a bunch of Game of the Year awards at other publications, but. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Like, I thought Deathloop was cool. I thought it was pretty innovative, but the pieces didn't exactly come together for like a Game of the Year level experience for me.
Yeah, of this, and It Takes Two, notably, I'll just say it. I'm single. I live alone, and I don't have a lot of friends over because of COVID. So I haven't played It Takes Two, and I think
I'm so mad they snubbed Valheim for the Game of the Year.
Valheim's early access. I don't think it deserves to be in the running.
So it did get nominated for a couple categories, but finish your point, Connor.
I didn't get to play It Takes Two. I think if I had played it, there's a good chance it would have been like a serious contender for me.
Yeah, I think so. I played It Takes Two with my sisters, and it was one of the best co-op games I've ever played. Just in terms of like the sheer imagination on display, like the gameplay mechanics evolved so quickly as you played the game, and in ways that made sense and in ways that were super creative. Like, it was just like an explosion of creativity almost, not unlike Psychonauts 2, I would say. It was in that sense, It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2 are similar in that they are just bursting at the seams with creative ideas that you don't really see in any other games.
Yeah, I think of the games on this list, Psychonauts 2 and Metroid Dread are like the two serious contenders. I haven't played Ratchet and like for me myself like that I played.
Yeah,
Metroid Dread and Psychonauts 2 are the serious contenders. So I haven't played Ratchet and Clank, but I don't think it would have made it for me just because I don't know. I looked at a lot about the game and I think it was probably really fun, but it didn't feel Game of the Year material to me.
I agree, and I do want to add that this is one of those rare years where I have played every single one of the games on this list for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil Village is a really interesting inclusion because Resident Evil, I still, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I think of it as pretty niche.
It's gotten pretty big, I think, with 7 especially. Yeah. It kind of blew up. But I agree with you. I think, so Resident Evil Village, it was a fine horror game. I think it like peaked in the middle of the game. Like the second half of the game was not as strong as the first half of the game. And it was a fine game. Definitely not Game of the Year, though, but I enjoy my time with it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, technical marvel, probably the most beautiful game I've ever played at this point. But in terms of the game itself, it's just another Ratchet and Clank game, which is a good thing, right? Ratchet and Clank is good. But again, like you said, it's not a Game of the Year level game, I think. Psychonauts 2 was fantastic, right? Like Psychonauts 2 is one of the most creative games I've ever played, and I think it is a Game of the Year level game. And I think it is a little disappointing that Psychonauts 2 didn't pick up a single award at this show.
Yeah, that seems a little unfair, but I also Psychonauts 2 is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none for me, I feel like.
I would agree with that. Like the platforming isn't like, isn't something like Mario level or like, and like the story isn't like mind blowing, but like, I think the thing that stands out about Psychonauts 2 is the same thing that stands out about It Takes Two, is just the sheer creativity in like the level design and like the writing.
Yeah.
I think that alone makes it a Game of the Year caliber game to me.
Yeah, and It Takes Two definitely feels like in the way that movies can feel like Oscar bait, kind of. It Takes Two feels like a Game of the Year game to me. I'm impressed that Metroid Dread and Psychonauts 2 even made the list here. Like, even though I think that they're very deserving of it. Like,
so I disagree on Metroid Dread. I totally expected Metroid Dread to win. Like Metroid Dread, I think was a shoo-in for the winner.
Yeah, and like Metroid games are still pretty niche. Like Metroid Dread's doing really well, but like I bet It Takes Two. I bet a lot more people have played it.
I think Dread. Metroid Dread is the best-selling Metroid game.
That's
ever
not
at this
saying
point,
much.
Right? Yeah, it's not saying much.
It is the best-selling Metroid game.
But no, just to offer some thoughts on Metroid Dread, would have been totally happy if this game won Game of the Year. This game was incredible.
Can I tell you what this isn't my Game of the Year, but can I tell you what game and it is up there for me? But what game it's really weird that isn't on this list is Hitman 3. Like,
dude, Hitman 3 honestly probably should have just won everything.
Hitman 3 not even being in the nominees for Game of the Year. I wonder if it came out. I was just looking. It was
early.
Release date. It came out January 19th. So
yeah, that's probably why. Like that's the crappy thing about these award shows. Like,
yeah, Metroid
games
Dread
can definitely
come out. Like, yeah.
Games can definitely get forgotten, and games that come out later in the year there's definitely recency bias, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little.
I mean, Cyberpunk was
I'm a little surprised 12 Minutes isn't on here though.
What were you going to say about Cyberpunk, Mike?
Cyberpunk was nominated for at least one award, I think.
Yeah, it's
Cyberpunk is on. Was that in 2021?
Yeah, I think so.
It was in December. Mid-December of 2020.
Yeah, and the way and the way the Game Awards work is that like December games can make it for next year, which is really weird.
Yeah,
because it came out after last year's Game Awards.
Otherwise, they just wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Their year-to-year basis is based off of like early December to early December of the next year.
But it's a little wild that Hitman 3 is not on here.
Yeah, it's Hitman 3, but like even I don't know, like maybe like people viewed it as like a third of a larger package, right? Which I guess is a little fair, and especially for me though, since I played all 3 Hitman games at once in one sitting, it like just came off as like a masterpiece to me.
Yeah,
but like maybe if you just isolate Hitman 3 and compare it to maybe the highs of Hitman 1 and 2, it didn't reach those.
I disagree
for some people.
because I played them all isolated, and I would say Hitman 3 has the absolute highest peaks of the 3 games. It also has the lowest lows, but it has the highest highs.
Right? Yeah, the Berlin level, man. That's just It was Berlin, right? It was
Berlin is the Apex Predator.
Yes.
That level's yeah.
It's like one of the best video game levels ever made. But yeah, just so going back to this list, Metroid Dread, yeah, I thought it was an obvious shoo-in. But then again, I don't think like a 2D quote unquote game has ever won Game of the Year, which I don't know. I feel like that says a lot about like mainstream gaming.
Yeah,
but
it does. People, once we get into
and Deathloop, obviously we've said our piece about Deathloop. I feel like we probably don't like it as much as most people do, but I do want to give it credit where credit's due. It is a very creative game.
It's just fun. I have a feeling everybody that voted for Deathloop didn't finish it, like because Deathloop was extremely good for me until like the last 45 minutes, and then I realized that this was a bad game that was terrible, and that's a shame. It's not a bad game that's terrible. It's just the ending soured the rest of the experience so badly for me. And I've heard that like from so many people that were like singing its praises like a long time ago and like didn't understand why I didn't like it. The moment they like actually finished the game, they were suddenly like, "Oh, this was not that good."
Yeah, it's one of those, like, it sucks, like, because I feel like for any sort of entertainment, almost, the ending is the hardest part to nail. And it also, the ending has the greatest impact on the overall impression.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the way things work out for, like, entertainment. Like, I'm talking, like, movies, books, whatever.
Deathloop does it especially bad, though, because I've played games that have mediocre endings, and that's a shame. But, like, Deathloop's ending retroactively makes the rest of the game worse because it, like, breaks the promise that the game makes you. Like, the game is promising to be this, like, time loop with all this, like, freedom and everything, and then you realize at the end of the game you actually had no freedom. You were on rails the entire time, and, like, nothing you did mattered because the game had a script that you had to follow letter for letter. Like, all of Deathloop has fewer interesting decisions than 5 minutes in one of Hitman 3's levels. Like,
yeah, Deathloop, I think, really took the immersive sim genre and just streamlined it to the point where it's no longer an immersive sim.
Yeah, like, to be clear, like, the shooting in that game feels incredible, and I, even after hating the ending, I still played the multiplayer for a bit because it was just fun. But
the multiplayer is definitely something I want to shout out. It's a very, innovative multiplayer.
If they had focused on the sandbox and the multiplayer more, but they were so focused on, like, telling this extremely streamlined narrative that wasn't
before we continue this, let's just pivot into best game direction and complain about that now.
Yeah, no, best game direction. It shouldn't have been Deathloop. Deathloop won best.
It shouldn't have been
out
Deathloop.
of their minds.
So it's funny because, like, these are the same. Oh no, Returnal's in there.
Yeah, best game direction being different from game of the year is a weird choice.
I guess it is. It is a little weird. It's. I feel like there's a very small margin of difference there.
Yeah.
But, like, there is, I mean, just look at the nominees. Like, they're basically the same, you know, so.
Yeah, wild that Metroid Dread, which, like, I feel like direction was everything in Metroid Dread, like.
Yeah, I mean, they had nothing else to work with, really. Like, gameplay and direction was it, right?
Yeah,
like,
and Metroid Dread's not even nominated. The nominees are It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, and Returnal. Returnal being on this list is very interesting to me because I didn't expect to see it at the Game Awards at all, and I'm glad to see it there, even though I didn't play it.
Yeah, we'll get into Returnal in a minute, but, like, the winner is Deathloop here, and I guess if you look at it from a perspective of, like, the innovation, maybe there's a case to be made.
Absolutely disagree. There was nothing innovative about Deathloop. Like,
the multiplayer was pretty innovative.
No, it wasn't. It was just Dark Souls.
No. It was literally
I think it was done
innovation.
I wouldn't call anything about Deathloop innovative. I think it was just mixing a bunch of ideas that hadn't been mixed before, and that was fine.
Okay, so, like, pure innovation is very difficult to come by in this industry. But, like, how many games with a multiplayer like Deathloop can you identify? Like, aside from, like, Dark Souls, I guess.
Okay, so Doom didn't have it, but it was announced that Doom Eternal was going to have a better version of this.
Okay,
and it just
someone's had this.
Like, it wasn't like, the idea was out there.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be, like, I don't really care. But, like, I do feel like I want to.
Yeah, I don't think Deathloop was. Yeah. The one, well, no, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
It had name recognition, really. That's the crux of the Game Awards. That if you're by a big studio, you're going to have a higher chance of winning awards.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So Game of the Year. Let's talk about what our Game of the Years would be.
Well, actually, let's just talk about It Takes Two really quick. But, like, because, like, this game, this is not a big game, like you were saying, Mike, right? Like, this is a game made by Joseph Ferris. It's an indie game. It's just a quirky co-op game. It's not a big third-person
indie game.
Yeah,
it's published by EA.
EA backs indies, but it is indie.
Yeah, and so this game is not like a massive action RPG. It's not like a Sony third-person action narrative game. It's not an FPS. It's this quirky 2D, or not, it's a quirky 3D co-op platformer, which I think is a pretty unique pick for Game of the Year. And I'm surprised it won, and I'm happy it won. Like, I loved seeing Joseph's reaction to winning, because you could clearly see he didn't expect to win.
Yeah, I was pretty certain it was going to be something like Deathloop or...
Yeah, I really thought
anything else on that list.
Clean up, which...
Yeah, we were hoping. We didn't.
I'm glad It Takes Two got recognized for its achievements, because I think, it's one of the best co-op games ever made. It's definitely an achievement, and I hope this
let's not forget Hugs is still free on itch.io.
Yeah, well, it's the second best co-op game ever made, right? And I hope this gets more eyes on it, right? Because, like, this isn't the sort of game that the mainstream audiences really know about, I think. So,
Yeah,
I think that's all I need to say about Game of the Year. So I'm happy It Takes Two won.
Who our winners would be? Like,
yeah, okay. So
mine aren't on this list. Like,
well, no, your Game of the Year is on this list, right?
No.
Your Game of the Year isn't Psychonauts?
No, my Game of the Year is probably Inscription.
Oh man, dude, I still gotta play Inscription.
The two I'm looking at right now that I'm kind of torn between are Inscription and Unpacking. And like, Unpacking is kind of a tough choice because it's a game I played in a single day, but like, I don't know. It'll probably come up again later, but the Inscription has some serious Game of the Year chops to it. Like that is a weird and very good game. And I can't say a lot about it because
I'm itching to play that game. It's just my life has been crazy lately and I haven't been able to do things I want to do. But yeah, tell us about Inscription.
Inscription, it's a card game where you're playing against a guy who has like a demonic figure that has you trapped in a cabin, and you're essentially playing for your life. And every time, and it's like a roguelike style card game with kind of like Slay the Spire, I guess. Although I liked Inscription, and I don't care for Slay the Spire.
Really,
but I think what really held me about Inscription, because the roguelike mechanics are not super fleshed out and stuff. What held me about Inscription is like the other side of the game, which is the escape room, which is that you can get up and look around this cabin and solve some puzzles, and like the stuff you do around the cabin affects the card game, and some stuff you do in the card game affects the cabin.
I just want to say, please try not to spoil too much, because I do want to experience this.
Yeah, I think I'm stopping here. Like that's it, and it's the narrative around all of it is what's extremely interesting. There's also like a meta narrative, an ARG and stuff that is, I think, solved at this point, but it's really good. It's a good video game, and that's why I'm calling it maybe my Game of the Year. It's super fun. Oh, God, I forgot to even say Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury is in the running for sure.
It's not. Is it anywhere on this list?
I don't think so. No, Bowser's Fury.
It is. It's under best family game. All right, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury was nominated for best family game. Bowser's Fury felt like playing the future of Mario. That game is insanely good.
Yeah, I feel like the next, I haven't played Bowser's Fury yet, but I think just based off what I hear about it, the next 3D Mario to come out is going to like kill the Game of the Year's list, right? Like it's just going to be like
extremely likely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Nintendo seems to have figured something out here.
Yeah, because I really do think Bowser's Fury,
which is saying something, because 3D Marios are also like already among the best games of all time. So
yeah, but I think Bowser's Fury might beat out Mario Odyssey for me as like in the echelon of 3D Mario games. I know you guys had me scrub it in the
Mario ranking,
the Mario rankings, because neither of you played it.
Hey man, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
It's hard being in a ranking and losing when you're the only one that played half the games, but whatever. You're not ready for that one.
I guess not, yeah. Mike, what was your Game of the Year?
Valheim.
Valheim? Yeah.
100% Valheim.
Valheim was the first survival game I've ever
much fun with Valheim. Yeah, I think it's the first survival game that I put 100 hours in.
Goodness.
And I still want to play more of it. Well, at least when it updates. Because my only critique is that once you hit the 4th biome, it starts to grind down because there's not a lot to do in the mountains.
Not yet? Or like...
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the plains are pretty cool, but the mountain is so small and you're just playing scavenger hunt at that point.
See, this is like why I don't want to play early access games. Like, I just give it to me when it's done. Like, because I feel like a fully fledged Valheim, like, yeah, I could see that being Game of the Year. Like,
part of me I agree with that, but the problem is like part of the appeal for Valheim for me was also like getting in on that cultural ground floor, like everybody.
Yeah, because like everyone just started playing it. Yeah,
and I like I'm looking forward to some games right now, not because I think the game will be that good, but just because I kind of need that right now. I need that community,
social, yeah.
Because I do hop on games late a lot of the time, so it's nice sometimes to just be there. And Valheim was that for a bit. Like everybody was playing Valheim, everybody was excited about it,
and nobody knew anything about the game, so it was really nice to just discover things probably Valheim, for the first time.
It felt good to discover in that game. Like yeah. It was just a very pleasant surprise. I didn't get very far because Ahmed never played it with me, for the record.
Yeah, I made it pretty much to the end of what's in the game currently. Twice.
Wow.
Give or take.
That's a lot of hours in that game.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention The Forgotten City. God, there's so many good games that came out.
That did get a couple nominations.
Yeah, it did, and it deserved it. That game. It's another game. So it much like Deathloop. Actually, it's a lot like Deathloop. Considering it's another game with a time loop and it's another game with a time loop that has a pretty lame ending, but The Forgotten City is a much better video game than Deathloop is, narratively speaking, at least.
I'm telling you, man, endings are just tough to figure out, apparently.
I think The Forgotten City, I could have written a better ending, I think. I don't want to say it because I do recommend everyone play The Forgotten City, so I don't want to spoil the ending because it's not so bad that it retroactively makes the rest of the game worse. It really is just kind of a lame couple of minutes.
That is another game I plan on playing.
It's I got all 4 endings in 3 hours and 11 minutes. So it's not a long one.
Okay. But yeah, my game of the year is Returnal, which I know it's you pick another Sony game, but
no, I think Returnal is not. I mean, Returnal is not the classic AAA set.
It is not. It is, and the more I think about Returnal, the more I'm it might, 10 years from now, I think people will still be talking about Returnal. Returnal is truly a special game. And Housemarque has really outdone themselves, more so than I thought, when it first came out, right? It's one of those games that, ages like fine wine. Kind of like Bloodborne, right? Bloodborne came out, people were like, this is an incredible Souls-like game. Now people look at it and this might be the best game From Software's ever put out.
I think that's just kind of a trait of roguelikes, is that they age really well.
Yeah, maybe that is true. Yeah.
Returnal's kind of put you on a roguelike path, Returnal and Slay the Spire and Hades, and I appreciate it because I just love roguelikes and I don't have a lot.
I mean, people still play Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. That's going to be my games I've been playing. But
it's the ultra oppressive atmosphere of, a Bloodborne or a Souls-like game is in Returnal. It also has a very cryptic story that can be interpreted many ways, and some of the interpretations get very, very dark.
Yeah, I really want to play this game. If I had a PS5, it's probably top of my list.
And it is one of those games where I love this game, but I can't, it's going to be a while before I play it again, just because it plays like a dream. The gameplay is sublime. It's perfect, quite frankly. But the atmosphere is so oppressive, it just kind of drains you. And I know that doesn't sound appealing, but it is kind of marvelous that a video game can create something so. It's not depressing, but it's just it feels like you're being weighed down when you play this game. You can feel the burdens that Celine, the main character, is experiencing, both personally and through the alien world that is trying to kill her.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just and I remember I'll never this became one of my fondest gaming memories, and I love when a game can do that, is that when I sat down to play it and I just kept going and going and going, and oops, I ended up beating the entire game in one run.
Yeah.
And it just and I was up to 5 a.m. doing this, and I had work the next day. I didn't care, I just had to keep playing it. Yeah. And for a game to be able to do that to me in 2021 shows that the spark is still there, I don't know. I think it's a positive sign that games can still do that to me, even, with how old I am now, and not as a kid where that would happen every other week almost, it becomes harder to impress you as you become older, I think, just because you've experienced so many things. But, Returnal made me feel like a kid again, because I hadn't experienced anything like it before.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more roguelikey than Hades is, and I think it makes me think you'd like more roguelikes. Is what it makes me think.
It is, because Hades, you get permanent buffs.
Yeah, and you'll remember me saying that was part of the reason I didn't care for Hades too much. Yeah. I'm not gonna knock it too much because I love an entry level game into roguelikes, because that didn't really exist before Hades, in my opinion.
But yeah, like Returnal in particular was absolutely brutal to the point where like I think it turned off a lot of people who would have played it otherwise because because if you recall, there was no saving in that game.
No saving, which I think
there is now actually.
Yeah, I think saving in a roguelike is a good thing. Most of the roguelikes I really like have the ability to walk because like you're not adding to the difficulty of your game by not letting me go to the store when I need to.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, so like on the run where I finally beat Returnal, like it was like just one like 15-hour session continuous. It was like ridiculous. But like yeah, like a normal person definitely needs to like not play for dozens of hours straight, you know?
Yeah.
So. But I'm glad that's finally in the game, and I hope that like Returnal gets some sort of like expansion update or something. I know it's sort of unlikely with how I guess the story wraps up, but like I think this is a game that
didn't stop Binding of Isaac.
yeah. I think this is a game that could. I would be fine with Housemarque just adding to Returnal for now until like, you know, the end of like the 2020s.
Yeah,
like
roguelikes
straight up
are good
like,
games to just add content to. They have good bones typically, you know, and like.
But I do think that them being a Sony first party studio now, they would be encouraged to make a sequel to Returnal because it's not exactly like a games as a service or anything like that, which is more monetizable when you add stuff onto it. So,
is there any possibility of a PC port of this game? Like,
I think it's pretty likely.
Okay, because I really want to play it, and oh my god, God of War comes out soon. That's unrelated, but I think I really want to play Returnal, but I don't see myself buying a PS5 anytime soon.
I think people are going to go crazy over God of War on PC. Like, I think the sales are going to be stupendous, and I think Sony's going to be like, okay,
PC
audience wants our games. Let's get our games to them. And you know, their acquisition of, I guess, what was it, Nexus or whatever?
Yeah, Nexus. Yeah,
yeah. That's indicative of like, yeah, most things are coming to PC. So, but yeah, Returnal is my game of the year for 2021.
So let's skip. I don't want to have the best game direction discussion. I don't think because like I don't know. We talked about it a little. I don't have a pick for best game direction because that's such a nebulous thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't know. I would pick Returnal just because the atmosphere and the gameplay and how all that ties together and the story just worked for me. But like again, like I don't know if that equates to direction.
Yeah, I'm inclined to pick Psychonauts 2 just because it's interesting that they were able to pick up a game 15 years later and like modernize it while also keeping the feel of the original in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
But like it's such a nebulous category. Do you have one, Mike?
For best game direction, not really.
Okay. Yeah. It's tough. Let's do best narrative though, because that's one I care about.
Best narrative, probably Psychonauts 2, I would say.
Psychonauts 2 is a good pick. I am gonna go Unpacking for this one, which is a weird choice.
No, I mean, like, based off everything I hear about the game, that's what it is. It's just like a narrative while you unpack boxes, and the narrative is really good.
Yeah, it's the delivery of the narrative for me because there's no dialogue, there's no text. Like you get a little bit of text under a picture describing like how she felt living in this place, and it's like one sentence. But like the way they deliver a narrative based on like what object she chooses to keep and what she gets rid of, and like how much effort it is to move into a house, like it really impacted me. It made me feel a lot of things, and I think that I don't know. It's not a game that I see like shaking the industry or anything. It's just a really good game.
Yeah, I do want to give some shout outs here. Like, Life is Strange True Colors, I've started it. I've barely progressed at all in it, but like if it's anything like the previous two Life is Strange games, I expect a very good story there.
Probably extremely good, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to finally playing that. I'm also playing currently, but I will not talk about this week because I'm working through it. I'm playing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm pleasantly surprised by the story. And I could see this, and it is the winner here for this list, but I don't even think I'm halfway through the game, and it's just like it's doing a weird thing where this game is making me care about the Guardians of the Galaxy like a lot, despite them not being the MCU versions. Because like when I started this game, I was just like, okay, who are these like bargain bin Guardians? Like I care about the MCU ones because I love those movies. But I'm like, 40% of the way through this game. I care a lot about these characters now. So they're doing something right. So I'm looking forward to completing this game and sharing my final thoughts with you guys. But
yeah, I might have to watch a Let's Play of that one or something because I don't really want to play it, I don't think.
What I will say about the gameplay too, and again, I'm still relatively early, is that it starts out fairly brain dead, right? Like you're just kind of holding a button, but complexity gets added over time.
Yeah.
And you can kind of do the Mass Effect thing where you can gain abilities for your guardians, and then you can command them and tell them where to use them. And Peter gets different kinds of ammo and weaponry too, and so the combat gets better from what they've shown in the trailers.
The thing that made me more interested is that I kind of heard you could basically turn the combat off and just play the story.
Yeah, there's lots of accessibility options for this game,
which I think is excellent.
I think you can do that actually. So
that's probably what I would do if I played it because I just would want to get through it.
And I don't want to hang on this too long because I will talk about it later. But at least at this point, this is definitely a AAA game, but it's lacking some of I guess some polish, right? It is a little bit janky. It looks really good and it plays fine, but it's just, it feels like you could have used a few more months in the tank just to polish some stuff, if that makes sense. But I guess that's all I'll say about it for now. We'll revisit that at a later date.
Did you have one, Mike, for best narrative?
Not really.
Okay.
Mike doesn't play games with narratives, really.
Yeah, that'd be too pretentious.
Too pretentious having a
story.
No,
I play games with narratives. I just didn't play a lot of narrative-focused games this year.
Yeah.
Or last year.
Yeah, Valheim really doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, Valheim is the narratives we create.
I don't know. You didn't hate the narrative in Ace Combat, did you?
Oh, no, I love the narrative in Ace Combat.
Yeah.
That's part of the charm of it.
Or did that come out this year?
Narrative. Project Ace Combat was 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Time is an illusion, so.
Yeah.
So let's talk best art direction. Deathloop won this one.
I don't know if I agree with that.
So this is the only category I think Deathloop. I don't agree with it. I would have picked Psychonauts 2, which was a nominee here, or Ratchet and Clank. I think both of those are contenders, but Psychonauts 2 is definitely mine.
Yeah, Psychonauts 2 is a gorgeous game just because of, again, the sheer creativity of the visuals. But Ratchet and Clank is just one of those games, I hate to say it, but the graphics are just so freaking good.
Yeah.
It's just a marvel to behold. It's just
yeah, the way, yeah, I pick Psychonauts 2 because the art direction is the way that the art in the levels, where the levels are inside someone's mind, that the art tells a story in such a meaningful way in Psychonauts that it's no contest for me that game is the best art direction.
Yeah, I don't know if I have strong feelings on this one. I think a lot of games are worthy of this award. I don't know about The Artful Escape. I don't think I've even heard of this game before. I don't know.
Yeah,
you guys have.
Which is weird because I keep an eye on Annapurna, but
yeah. I will say though that Kena Bridge of Spirits is a gorgeous game, and it's not because of the fidelity of the graphics or anything. The art style is very. It kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender almost, because it's a very spiritual sort of game set in a forest, a lot of monk type characters. So I really enjoyed the art in Kena too. It's very pretty to look at. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, I do want to say though, I've been roasting Deathloop. That game looks good. It didn't run super well and stuff, but
it
I
looks
really
good
like the aesthetic they're doing. There was a weird. They just did some weird stuff. It's not a photorealistic game.
It's a very stylish game, I will say.
And I think it deserves credit for that because it was cool.
Yeah. Best score / music winner is Near Replicant version 1.22474487139.
Call it Near Replicant. Don't worry about the numbers.
It's a well deserved Near Replicant.
Yeah,
I played the game.
I agree.
It's pretty good. I haven't finished it, but that game sounds very good.
I have yet to play the Nier games, but I have not heard the end of the soundtrack for these games. So
Nier Automata. Automata is more memorable to me than Replicant, but Nier Replicant sounds really good.
All that to say is I don't even want to argue this because I know it's probably really good. So
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy being on this list,
that's kind of a cheat.
Yeah,
I think,
right.
Because it's just a bunch of
that's a weird
pick. It's just a bunch of 80s music. So
Yeah. Like I'm looking at the games I played, and none of these had killer soundtracks except like Nier Replicant. So
I mean, I liked Cyberpunk's soundtrack.
Yeah, and it's on here.
This is more of a bugbear with the Game Awards in general. There has not been a single Ace Combat game or Ace Combat-like game nominated for Best Score in Music, and I think that's an outrage.
I think that's fair, but those are just games that they're a little niche. I bet a lot of people doing the Game Awards haven't even played them. So
I mean, everyone's heard of Ace Combat.
Everyone's heard of it, but not everybody played it.
Yeah,
but Ace Combat was last year, right? So
it wasn't even nominated last year.
It might have been. I don't remember.
I don't think it was.
So, but I'm just not going to argue with Best Score in Music. Nier Replicant is good. It's very good.
Best Audio Design, Forza Horizon 5 wins. I could see that, honestly.
I don't like cars or anything, or racing games, really. But just on visuals and, like, how satisfying the visuals and audio were alone, I spent a bit of time in Forza Horizon 5. So, like, that's a well-deserved win, in my opinion.
So I had like Game Pass for a few days, and I tried out Forza Horizon 5, and let me tell you, I'm the same as you, Connor. Don't care at all about cars. Could care less.
It's a fun
game. Intro is one of the
Yes. Oh my god. When I played that intro, I was like, "Oh my god, is this what this game is like?" And the answer is no. The intro is very different from the entire.
You know what's hilarious is, like, I played the intro. I was like, "This is like one of the best racing game experiences I've ever had in my life."
Yeah.
And then I kept playing, and I was like, This is
exactly like every other racing game I've ever
played. And then
you
know what I did? I looked up how to delete my cloud Xbox save,
so you can play the intro.
So I just play the intro over and over again.
Dude, that's fair. That intro is bonkers. It's so good, but they really couldn't keep it up. But that said, the game outside of the intro is still fun. It's just nowhere near as good as that intro.
That
intro is like Uncharted level crazy.
Yeah, so that intro is like straight up like one of the best game intros. Like
there are brief moments where it gets stuff similar to that intro, but they're few and far between. Like it was kind of weird, like that they opened with that because it was so different from the rest of the game. But the game is very good.
Yeah, best audio design, Deathloop. I don't remember it. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying I got no argument with Forza Horizon 5. Deathloop definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, but it was just a shooter. It didn't sound incredible. Yeah. The one that's not on here is Halo. Sounds pretty good. Halo Infinite.
One thing I do want to say, Returnal, like the 3D audio in that game is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that is only something you can experience if you try it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I think Returnal gets hurt a little bit by just being on the PS5.
I think I agree with that. Resident Evil Village, I mean, like, it was okay. Like, horror games, I think, by design have good audio design, because audio is a big part of, like, the horror.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, have either of you played Resident Evil Village?
No, I hated 7 so much that I didn't bother.
Okay, so there's a section in this game that, like, if this game is, like, maybe, like, a 4 or 5 out of 10 on the horror scale, there's this one section in this game that is like an 11.
Is it the baby?
Yeah, it's the baby.
That's scary. I've seen it.
And the audio for that is just mind-blowing. Like, if we were just scoring based off that section, Resident Evil would win easily.
Yeah.
This category. Because, like, that one section made me crap myself, dude. Like, I kid you not. Like, I was terrified. Like, I was scared for my life playing this game during that section, and it didn't reach those highs again after that. But my god, that was just that was tough. Okay,
best performance, we want to move on to that.
Do we? I kind of want to just
I want to talk best performance, because I do want to say that Jason E. Kelly is Colt Vaughn in Deathloop, and I'm gonna butcher this, Ozioma Akaga as Juliana Blake in Deathloop.
They were very good.
They were insanely good.
Yeah.
And Lady Dimitrescu must have been incredible to beat them. Like,
that's not, this award is a joke, I think.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
She was only in the game for like an hour. Like,
not in the game for that long.
That's why I'm like, is Giancarlo Esposito, like, is he really in the right? Because I hear he's not in that game very much. Like,
I mean, I think he's more in the game. I think Giancarlo Esposito is more in Far Cry 6 than Maggie Robertson is in Resident Evil Village.
Wow.
Like straight up.
But I still think of all of these, I still like they would have to be really good to beat the Deathloop people. The Deathloop people were really good.
I would vote for the Deathloop people for this one. The Life is Strange one, I don't know because I haven't played it, so that could be it. But
yeah, it would have to be a lot better than Life is Strange. I like Life is Strange, but Life is Strange 1 did not. The performances, or at least like maybe not even the performances, but like the stiffness of the game took away from it in a way that Deathloop did not. So,
all right. So games for impact, Life is Strange 2 Colors won this one.
I haven't played any of these games, unfortunately.
Neither have I. I've heard very good things about Chicory: A Colorful Tale.
I think that had I played it, Before Your Eyes would almost certainly be my game of the year this year. I think it is probably, I've heard of it. It is a game where you are viewing a life and you have to have a webcam plugged in and the game sees when you blink. And when you blink, a huge amount of time passes in the world and you move to like a different phase of this life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little heady, but like, I have a hard time believing Life is Strange would impact me in a way that Before Your Eyes did not. Like, it flew under my radar. It just kind of got away from me, and I haven't played it yet. But I really think Before Your Eyes has potential to be like one of my favorite games ever.
That concept is just wild.
Yeah,
like what you just described. That sounds very innovative.
Yeah, I've also heard very good things about Boyfriend Dungeon and Chicory, but I haven't played them, and I haven't played Life is Strange. So basically every game on this list is a game I have to play. But I will say it's really weird that Unpacking isn't on it, because Unpacking would be my game for impact this year. Yeah, because like it emotionally devastated me.
I don't have too much to say for this category. I think.
Mike,
should we move? Yeah, Mike, do you have anything?
No, I have no strong opinions.
You've not been impacted.
Yeah, no, I'm never impacted anymore.
That's okay. Best ongoing game is not. I mean, Final Fantasy 14 deserves it, I think, probably. It's like the only game on this list that I don't hear people whine about constantly.
Right, yeah. True. Very true. Yeah,
I think maybe like Binding of Isaac could have been on this, but it depends on if you count like releasing DLC. I guess that's what Final Fantasy is doing. So I think it's weird that the Binding of Isaac isn't on here with Repentance coming out and everything.
Yeah.
That was this year, wasn't it?
I think so.
That might have been 2020. I don't know.
But yeah, I no comment there. I probably agree Final Fantasy 14 is the right choice.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of ongoing games. I kind of just play and get out.
So best indie game, I bet you have some beef with this, Connor.
I haven't played Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Putting 12 minutes on this list is like spitting in my face. That was so bad.
That's so funny.
All the others, though, Death's Door, Inscription, Loop Hero. Inscription, obviously, that was my game of the year, probably. Yeah. So Inscription probably should have won this for me.
I have purchased Death's Door during like a sale or whatever, and I do plan on playing it because I've heard very good things about Death's Door.
I thought you liked 12 minutes.
3 of these games are Devolver. Like, Devolver nails it on
No. Connor hates 12 minutes, Mike. He ranted about it on this show.
Who did I talk to that liked 12 minutes?
I was like back and forth on 12 minutes, but like, it's a bad video game. Like, it's so bad. It's the story,
but it's got
so bad.
James McAvoy or whatever.
All that's there.
Does it have James McAvoy? Is that the one?
Yeah, McAvoy. Okay. Yeah, he plays the main character. Daisy Ridley plays your. Is it fiance or wife? I can't remember. I think it's wife. And then Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe plays the guy that comes in and kills you.
That's a lot of star power for an indie game.
That's also the entire cast of the game. I'm pretty sure. That's everybody.
Defoe's awesome. That's all I'll say.
No, everybody's performance was really good in the game. Like I like when I first started playing it, I was very engrossed because it was like just a very good little cutaway of that world. But then the game was boring. The puzzles were bad, and the story was horrible. And I mean, I'll even spoil it. Weirdly incestuous.
Oh, I don't think I want that.
Yeah, it's a bad game.
And very few things can make incest, work.
Yeah, Cloud9, pretty good play, very incestuous.
I was gonna say, the only thing that came to mind was Game of Thrones to me.
Yeah.
But let's move away from this.
Yeah, Inscription wins best indie game. Sorry.
So Inscription, I very much look forward to playing, and I am expecting really good things. Loop Hero, I have played recently, and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, Loop Hero is good.
I will say, I've played a good chunk, probably more than half of Kana Bridge of Spirits, and I'm very impressed by it. And so I don't have any arguments with this selection, but I feel like Inscription might be able to change my mind.
I think it would. I think Inscription. I think the people who don't like Inscription probably did not beat the first section of it because the game
changes.
I'm not even going to say it changes because it's the same core game throughout, but like it just I can't say anything. I'm just going to say like if you play Inscription, you need to play it until you roll credits, and if you stop before then, you don't get to talk about it.
Okay, yeah, I it is very high on my list of things to play.
Yeah.
So, Mike, do you have any thoughts on this category?
I didn't play any of these games.
Yeah, that's I figured.
I really didn't do much this year. It was Valheim.
At all, though? Yeah, Valheim. I mean,
it was Valheim. Yeah.
So Valheim's on this next list, best debut indie game, which Kana has also won.
Wait, where's? Okay, we're not looking at the same list then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, weird.
I'm on the site itself. The next category for the site is best mobile game.
Yeah, same.
Okay,
here.
I'm on IGN.
Oh, okay. I'm on Wikipedia, the Game Awards.
Okay, but
let's just go best mobile game because I don't think any of us. Well, no, Super Auto Pets. They got it.
Hold on. So let's just
Impact.
Best debut indie game because I feel like it's connected to best indie game.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Sable? Or
I have played Sable. Sable sits in a really weird spot for me. I liked what I played of it, but I also just haven't turned. Like I played it once for like 2 hours, and I liked what I played, and then I just never turned it on again. Like,
okay, I don't know what it is.
It's a lot like Breath of the Wild with no combat. Like
what?
It like down to like having a gliding ability and stuff, and like a huge open world that like is frankly better designed than most AAA open worlds.
It sounds like Genshin Impact.
No, it's not like Genshin Impact at all. It's a good game, which like I don't know how to describe. It's like it's a scenery game. Like you're going around this world, and it's about this girl named Sable and her culture. Like you reach a certain age, you put on a mask, and you get a magical ability to like float in a bubble, and that's your glide ability. And I think it's called the gliding or something is the journey she goes on. And it's a journey. It's a very culturally important journey of self-discovery where you go out and you figure out what mask you're going to wear for the rest of your life.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think it's a really meaningful game for the people that finished it, but I just didn't. I had a hard time. It didn't stick the hooks in me like I wanted it to. I haven't finished it. I think if I did finish it, I'd really like it. But
yeah. So Sable was on this list. Artful Escape, Forgotten City, Valheim, and Kana. And I feel like these are all mostly very strong games. Obviously, Mike's pick would be Valheim, but
I mean, Valheim really did a lot to the survival genre.
I will say another thing that impressed me about Kana was that this was this studio's first video game.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it looks like the way it does.
Yeah,
it's because like I think they have like lots of like traditional animators on their team that are accustomed to making like movies. And they were able to pull off some really nice animation for Kana.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to what they do next if this was their first game. So kudos to these people.
I forgot that was their first game because that started as a Skyrim mod.
Yeah.
The Forgotten City is really good. I think the next thing they do is going to be crazy.
Yeah. All right, so best mobile game. Yeah, so
it's Auto Pets, right? Like,
it's got to be Super Auto Pets. Like as Northern Line would argue, Super Auto Pets is actually straight up just game of the year. Yeah. I don't know if I'd agree with that, but yeah. So I wouldn't, I didn't, when 2021 happened, I wouldn't have thought that I would have been addicted to a mobile game, much less like a mobile game that isn't like predatory, right? Super Auto Pets is just an auto battler without any sort of like, pay to win or any sort of like addictive monetary mechanics, right? It's just like a game. And it's also available on, PC too, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a mobile game, but it's just so, I don't know. The thing about Super Auto Pets is that like I've played a lot of like auto chess games, and this one's like more simple than most, but it's just like the matter of fact, like blatant use of like emojis as the artwork in the game, and just like the whole silliness of it is just like puts it onto a weird level for me. Like it's just never not funny to look at. Like it's always hilarious at all times.
I haven't played it, but I've watched Northern Lion play it, and I do enjoy it. I enjoy
it's just so funny. Yeah. And when you combine that with Northern Lion, who I also discovered last year, who is just naturally extremely funny, it's like highly entertaining to play that game and to watch him play that game. So
okay, I changed my opinion on best mobile games. The paycheck has come in. Let's go Genshin Impact.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
I haven't even I have some friends who play Marvel Future Revolution. I didn't know there was a League game on mobile.
Yeah, it's just League.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just mobile League.
No way. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. It came out before Pokemon Unite was a thing.
You know, it's funny. I did actually start Genshin Impact, I think at the end of last year, and then I stopped. But like what I played, I was pretty interested. It honestly kind of seemed like 3D MapleStory to me, which is a very dangerous thing. But
you didn't hit the gotcha point yet.
I didn't. Like I played like 10 minutes of it.
Yeah,
so.
I'm the same. I played very little Genshin Impact, but like people talk about it a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, and people like it quite a bit. So
I just don't. I mean, it is literally a mobile game, I guess, but I don't think of it as one because like I played it on PS4.
Yeah, I played.
Everybody who I know who's played Genshin has told me not to play Genshin. So
that sounds right. Yeah, because it's a gacha game. You sink a lot of money into it. It's unhealthy. But
yeah, I'm just not gonna touch it. I don't like gacha games in general.
Well, all right, let's not talk about. I mean, we don't play mobile games a whole lot. So
yeah,
best community.
I mean, I could talk about Pokemon Unite, but Pokemon Unite's
do you like
an okay MOBA?
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's kind of what I've heard.
I remember when Pokemon Unite first came out, I was over the moon. I thought it was fantastic, and I just sort of like it fizzled out after like a week for me. But like I still think it's such a neat idea.
There's a lot of Pokemon stuff that's just fizzled out recently. Like
yeah, I think the bad part about Pokemon Unite is that the entire game flow revolves around one thing.
Yeah,
like the last 2 minutes of the game are all that matters, and anything that happens before then is all garbage.
Oh well, that's kind of I don't understand what you're saying, but that sounds lame.
Because like there's a big comeback.
Yeah, mechanic. You get double points in the last 2
minutes.
Yeah,
if you catch the golden snitch, you get 150 points, and the rest of the game doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good game design. Best community support. This one went to Final Fantasy 14, and again, I have a hard time disputing that.
Yeah, I don't want to dispute that,
especially because like a lot of these other ones, I feel like they got nominated because they, in a literal sense, have community support. But like, when I look at these subreddits, like the Destiny 2 subreddit doesn't like Destiny 2, the Apex Legends subreddit doesn't like Apex Legends. Fortnite, I don't even know how to talk about that game.
Is Fortnite's audience even like old enough to have a community?
Fortnite even a game anymore? Like,
yeah, it's a platform, but at this point,
it's a platform now.
No Man's Sky is an interesting inclusion on this list, and I don't really know what happened to No Man's Sky in 2021, but it was probably good because
it got a Mass Effect crossover.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool. I now have the Normandy of No Man's Sky. I don't even play No Man's Sky.
That is pretty neat.
Yeah, no disputes there.
Yeah. Best AR VR. Resident Evil 4
Hitman
won this one. That's really cool. I haven't played it, but Resident Evil 4 being in VR is really cool from what I've heard.
Yeah. I agree.
Hitman, the other nominations are Hitman 3, I Expect You to Die 2 by friend of the show, Shell Games, which is bonkers that they're on here. I love Shell Games, and I Expect You to Die is one of my favorite VR games. I have not played the sequel yet. Lone Echo 2 and Sniper Elite VR. I think if it were me, I Expect You to Die 2 probably would have won if it's as good as the first one. Have not played Resident Evil 4 though, so kind of hard to say.
I have not either, but you know, this is just one of those. Resident Evil 4 is one of those legendary video games.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Hitman 3 really stood a chance here, and it makes me mad that this is the only Hitman 3 mention on this list. But I don't think Hitman 3 really stood a chance because it's not really a VR game, right? It was kind of like...
It's not. I mean, you can play it in VR and it's fine, but the actual experience is, I think, way better. So
yeah. Next up, innovation. You got into VR this year, didn't you, Mike? Do you have any disputes here?
No.
Okay, because I didn't really play VR a whole lot this year, honestly.
I played a good bit of VR this year, but I didn't play any of the games that were nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went through the backlog. And by the backlog, I mean I just played VTOL VR.
It's a good backlog. Innovation and accessibility. This one went to Forza Horizon 5, which I think is the obvious choice. I think Forza Horizon 5.
It's also presented by Chevrolet.
Cool, yeah. Doesn't have that on my list, but Forza Horizon 5, you can just make the cars slower.
Yeah, so this one's, I mean, I lack the insight to make, a judgment on this, but I'm kind of surprised Guardians of the Galaxy didn't win, just based off of what I've heard of.
Yeah,
for the accessibility options in that game.
I'm not, because I think Forza Horizon 5 would beat Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy almost on genre alone. There's just more you could do with Forza to make it accessible, I feel like.
That's fair, yeah.
Than you could, because, you can literally slow down time. And also Forza, from what I've seen, Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't do this, but I played a good bit of Forza, and I had some of these accessibility options on at first. And I was playing, and the game was like, hey, you're winning really easily. Do you want us to make this a little harder? And I said, yeah, and they just took some of it off, and, I'm bad at the game, but it just gradually got to the point where it was the correct difficulty for me in a very natural way.
Yeah.
And yeah, in a way that not a lot of games have done for me. And I don't know if it would even be possible with a lot of games, but Forza saw the opportunity and did it. I've also heard good things about Far Cry, but
yeah, and I think I just want to give a shout out to games in general. I feel like accessibility is really being put at the forefront now, and I think
other than Metroid Dread, which didn't bother.
But no, compare this to 5 years ago, even no one really had accessibility options to the extent that we have today, and now it's everywhere, and it's so in depth too. So it's just bringing gaming to more people, which is awesome. So
yeah.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. I don't have anything else to say about accessibility.
Best action game, Returnal wins this, and I don't want to hear any arguments.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't play Returnal. I do want to say what won for me though, and that might be Halo. Halo Infinite.
Is Halo not on this list because it came out too late?
Probably
earlier. Because it wasn't. It was out in beta, so yeah, probably. Yeah. So I'll scrub Halo from the record.
I mean, Halo would have took Back 4 Blood spot on the nominations anyway.
Yeah. Also,
I'm kind of surprised.
Video game.
Yeah, I'm surprised Back 4 Blood is on this list.
Yeah.
If you want the experience, just play Left 4 Dead 2.
But another comment I want to make on Returnal, there are times in that game where you feel like you're in the freaking Matrix, dude. You are dodging projectiles left and right, and time isn't slowing down or anything, but you just enter this flow state where you're just ultra instinct dodging everything, and it feels so perfect. Yeah. And it's just it's a special gameplay.
I'm realizing I didn't play a lot of action games this year.
Yeah, because
Metroid Dread's not on this list because it's called an action-adventure game, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Metroid Dread would be better than everything other than Returnal for me on this list.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and say Metroid Dread won Best Action-Adventure Game, and obviously, yeah,
Yep, I don't want to disagree with that.
Yeah. The other candidates are Guardians of the Galaxy, which I would say that deserves the call for narrative, but I have a hard time believing it deserves the nomination here. Psychonauts 2, sure. Ratchet and Clank, absolutely. Resident Evil, weird to call a horror game an action-adventure game, but whatever, gang. I feel like there's no horror here, so they had to put it somewhere. Yeah, I agree with Returnal for Best Action and Metroid Dread for Best Action-Adventure. Just on the core conceit that I did not play a lot of action games this year for some reason.
Yeah. So, Best RPG. This one, I don't think I played many RPGs last year, which is kind of rare for me. But the nominees are Cyberpunk 2077, Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Tales of Arise. And Tales of Arise won. I don't know if I have any comments on this list, which
I don't either. I didn't play any of these games. If I had played the Monster Hunter Rise would be my win, but I also don't really think of Monster Hunter as an RPG.
I was going to say, Monster Hunter isn't an RPG, is it?
I wouldn't call it one, but it is. I mean, in a literal sense, Yeah, because you are playing a character, your character gets stronger, but the increases are all, you don't level up. Your increases are all through your gear and stuff. So it's in a weird spot for me. But of these games, my favorite, I didn't play it, but I can tell you for certain my favorite would have been Monster Hunter Rise had I played it.
Yeah, so I've always heard good things about the Tales series. It's like a JRPG series.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like...
Oh, is that like Tales of Vesperia and Tales of...
Yes.
Oh, I would have liked that too. I didn't play it. I grew up playing Tales of Symphonia, I think.
Yes.
With my friends.
This is all the same series. And, like, I've always heard good things about it, but, like, you know, there's only so many games I can give my attention to. Anyways. So, best fighting game nominees were Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles, which is like a Naruto Storm esque game developed by CyberConnect, which, you know, they're fine games, but they're not really fighting games. Guilty Gear Strive, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. I will say I'm not surprised with the winner at all. Guilty Gear Strive, it's the most stylish looking fighting game I've ever seen. Like, I don't know anything about the mechanics in that game, but I love like watching people play it just because it looks so incredible.
Yeah, the only one I played here is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. So
yeah,
I don't
same.
feel like I gotta say, because I haven't even heard of most of these.
I played Nick All-Star Brawl.
You haven't heard of Neko? I've only known about 2 of them from the memes.
Yeah, so I haven't. So the ones I know of are Nick, Demon Slayer, and Guilty Gear. And Nickelodeon was fun, right? Like, it's super janky and like definitely needs, you know, updates, I think. But like it's become its own thing almost, right? Like, it already has a pretty competitive scene, which is cool. Demon Slayer is just like, you know, it's just a really well-made arena fighter game based off of the Demon Slayer anime, which is fine, right? But isn't like a fighting game in the sense like the other games on this list are. And Guilty Gear Strive is, I think, probably the obvious winner here, for the reasons I mentioned before. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no complaints. You can have it.
Best family game.
I take beef with It Takes Two winning this, if I'm being honest, because I've not seen a lot of It Takes Two, but it is not a game I would sit down and play with a kid, like, which is what I think of when I think family.
There are parts of It Takes Two that are absolutely not okay for children.
Yeah, so I really don't think it should have won this. In a literal sense, you played it with your family, but like, I think putting It Takes Two and Mario Party Superstars in the same category is insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like Mario Party should probably win this game.
No, my pick is easy Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
But that's not a multiplayer game.
Huh?
I don't know. When I think of family game, I guess I default to it has to be multiplayer, but I guess that's not true.
3D World is multiplayer.
Is it?
And Bowser's Fury, yeah, somebody else can take control of Bowser Jr., so they're both multiplayer. Yeah.
Okay.
3D World was the first multiplayer 3D Mario game. You can have 4 people running around just like New Super Mario Bros.
That's cool.
I played through the whole thing with a friend online. It is a Nintendo game with functional online multiplayer.
So I would probably give my vote to Super Mario Superstars only because, like, since this game came out, this is the only thing I play with my family whenever we play games, which is kind of wild. Yeah, like, my sisters are in love with this game. A lot of my friends are in love with this game. We play this online together often, and it's really sort of got staying power in a way that previous Mario parties didn't, which is kind of funny, right? Because it's just like a collection of old Mario parties, which shows...
The only reason I hesitate to concede that, because, like, 3D World is a remake, so, like, it feels weird, or not a remake, or a re-release, remaster? Yes. I don't even know. It did improve on 3D World, and it added online multiplayer and stuff, but the level design is unchanged. But Bowser's Fury was so good that it's really hard for me to concede this one.
Yeah, but Bowser's Fury itself is not I mean, I
disagree. You could play it like it has a little brother mode type thing, like,
yeah,
and it, like, yeah, it's also like super family friendly. And
I guess the way I'm looking at this category is if I like sat down with my family and played each one of these games, I
feel like you're ranking it as like best party game more than best.
Yeah, I think maybe I am. Yeah,
and I God help you, there's no best party game on this list. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the Game Awards are dumb. Don't tell them I said so. But
yeah. I mean, like, so here's the thing. So I guess we have to go into that a little bit. The Game Awards are a little dumb, but I am glad that something like this exists for gaming, right? Just to sort of like, just for the ceremony of it, right? Just so we can like celebrate video games.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I do just wish somebody with some actual tastes was involved in it, but
yeah,
like,
I mean, like, it's tough because like Jeff Keighley, he has like a panel of judges, and they're like a global panel, like from all.
Yeah, no, it very much like the Oscars is like limited by the panel. Like,
yeah, I don't know what the solution to that is. Maybe like open it up to more people or something. But yeah,
because I wouldn't want it open to democracy or whatever. Like,
I mean, there is like a user mode, like a fan vote or whatever too. So
yeah, and
I'm pretty sure Halo Infinite won the fan vote or something.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, the fan vote is going to be so much more reliant on like recency bias and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is kind of a compromise, but
yeah, it's my God-given task to complain about this, just like people who care about movies whine about the Oscars every year.
Yeah,
it's just what you do.
Okay, so moving on, and I think we should pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, best sports racing game, Forza Horizon 5. Yep.
Yeah, no reason to dispute that at all. Okay.
I don't even care enough about sports games.
Yeah, like there was one other, like there was one on Game Pass that I liked. Can't remember if it came out this year. I'm not going to complain too much, but it was about riding a bike down a hill, and I forget what it was called.
So I think this next category is actually kind of interesting. Best sim/strategy game. Age of Empires 4 has won this game. But some of the nominees: Humankind, Inscription, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
This category is insane. Flight Simulator should not be competing against Age of Empires 4. That is nonsense.
I think best sim and best strategy should be separate categories.
That said, you're probably thinking I'm going to argue for Inscription here, and I'm not. Inscription, as far as being a strategy game, was good, but probably not better than Age of Empires.
Yeah, I gotta play Age of Empires.
Yeah, 100% Age of Empires.
Yeah.
Humankind was good, and it did some cool things, but it was also fairly shallow.
Yeah, I feel like it's Humankind needs a little more dev time, from my impression.
It needs more depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best multiplayer game. Okay. Back for Blood, It Takes Two, Knockout City, Monster Hunter Rise, New World, Valheim. Interesting that New World is on here. I've heard good things about New World, Amazon's MMO.
You've heard good things?
I've heard everything from every category. It's interesting that Deathloop was not nominated here.
Yeah, that is interesting. That's strange. Very strange.
Valheim was nominated. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to complain about It Takes Two. I will say, like, if Super Mario 3D World was allowed in Family Game, even though it's a remake, I would definitely put it as a candidate here because that game's multiplayer is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I'm also, again, like, am I allowed to talk about Halo Infinite here? Because if I am, Halo Infinite wins for me. That multiplayer.
Yeah, I think we have to count it, right? Because it came out in 2021, right? Like, we don't have to adhere to their.
So Halo Infinite definitely wins best multiplayer game for me. That multiplayer is sublime. It is so good.
The Halo Infinite multiplayer, from what I have played, I enjoyed a lot. I do see the case for It Takes Two, just for it being such an innovative co-op game. But like when I think of a multiplayer game, I don't know if I think of like a two-player co-op game.
Different things in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can skip a lot of these next categories, right? I don't think any of us really follow esports too hard, right?
I don't even have these on my list.
Content creator of the year. I don't know any of these.
Content creator of the year, we were snubbed.
Yeah, we should have won Content Creator of the Year.
We should have won.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think of us.
Yeah. So
hold on, let me just Photoshop the page to show Game Talk podcast winning Content Creator of the Year.
The only reason I know who Dream is because of the memes that Donkey made on this creator. But we're gonna skip all the esports stuff just because we have no expertise there and go to this final category here. Most anticipated game, and the nominees are Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, for Horizon Forbidden West, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and Starfield, which are all highly anticipated games.
Yeah, the only two games on this list that I don't really care about are Starfield and Horizon, and I might care about Starfield. I just don't know enough about it yet.
Yeah, honestly,
the rest of this, like, these are some incredible games. Like,
So what I will say, and Elden Ring 1, and now that we're in 2022, and I think next episode we'll get more into this, 2022 is going to be one of those legendary years.
Yeah. If Breath of the Wild 2 makes it out this year. Like,
so, I mean, just a little backtracking. 2020, Elden Ring also won most anticipated game. Yeah, we've been anticipating this game for 2 years.
Elden Ring is gonna shake the world, I think.
Is Ragnarok definitely coming out this year?
Yeah, Ragnarok's happening this year.
God of War sequel was on 2020's.
Is Starfield
Horizon Forbidden West was on there. Yes.
Starfield is scheduled for this year. Yeah.
Okay.
And Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo have their biggest guns happening this year, which is just wild.
And then Elden Ring, which is
just probably, it might be bigger than all of them, which is just crazy.
You know, I'm thinking, I think most anticipated game had Halo Infinite on it, and they took it off at the last minute because last year it had Halo Infinite on it.
Yeah.
And it actually is one game short this year.
But something crazy. So this most anticipated list, to an extent, I'm anticipating all of these games, right? Like Starfield, I'm excited for just because I know it's Bethesda in space, and I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, Starfield has some serious potential, but I also think that like the Bethesda formula is all like, I don't care for Fallout. I definitely didn't care for Outer Worlds. I think
if it's Elder Scrolls in space, I'm kind of in, honestly.
See, I'm the opposite. I think that they need to adapt a little bit to make it work in space, like because the Elder Scrolls formula does not work once you introduce guns, in my mind. So,
yeah, I don't know. There is something about this game, though. Like I feel like it's gonna.
The trailer was
one of those things. I feel like it's gonna be. It's going to be special.
Yeah.
I can kind of tell. And also, so just to go through this list, Breath of the Wild 2, I don't really even need to justify why I'm excited for that. Horizon Forbidden West, I love the first Horizon. I'm so looking forward to this next one. God of War Ragnarok, again, like, if you know me, like, God of War was probably my favorite PS4 game. Like, this game, I'm going to probably take off work for.
Yeah, I think if Horizon Forbidden West learned some lessons from Breath of the Wild,
I think it definitely did.
Because like, Horizon came out at such a weird time for me. It might have come out before Breath of the Wild, did it?
It came out like literally. It was either like a week after or a week before. Like it was right there with it.
But Breath of the Wild ruined every other open world game in the world for me. And like,
yeah, that's fair, honestly.
So like, Horizon really just didn't even get a chance for me. If Forbidden West learned from Breath of the Wild but brings that Horizon heat, then there's a chance I might really like the game.
From what I've seen of Forbidden West, it seems like it's taking a lot of inspiration, I think. Yeah. So that's very positive. Which it should, honestly, like any open world game released after Breath of the Wild should take inspiration, I think.
Yeah.
Some inspiration at least. You don't have to copy paste, but and obviously Elden Ring, which will probably be I don't want to make wild guesses here, but I'm gonna say it has the potential to be Miyazaki's like magnum opus, which is
be a good video game.
Wild to say, because like this man has already created, games of the generation level games.
I could see myself taking off work for Elden Ring, like
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, for me, it's going to be wild because Forbidden West comes out, and then I think the following week, or maybe later that week, Elden Ring comes out. So, like,
I mean, it's gonna be like pretty packed for me because I'll be playing. God of War comes out on PC like a week from today, or no, it comes out on Friday, I think.
Oh wow!
And I'm not too quick
exciting.
on games, so I'll probably be playing that until Elden Ring comes out.
I do recommend. So, like, God of War, the new one, is obviously like a great jumping on point. I do recommend, if you have the time, like find a YouTube video just summarizing the events of 1 through 3, because you will get a little more out of it if you do that. But
I might just play them because I've kind of fallen in love with the the Devil May Cry games from around that time, and I think the gameplay is somewhat similar.
I think the gameplay in Devil May Cry will probably be better, but like
almost certainly, because Devil May Cry is like genre defining and industry standard setting. But
yeah, but just a small recommendation before you jump into God of War on PC.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything. So that's, I think, 2021 in a nutshell for us. Like it's funny because when 2021 started, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be one of those years for video games that's not very good. totally wrong. Like, it was a fantastic year.
It was,
I think
it was a good year. It was not like a legendary year, but it was a very good year.
It was a very good year. I think 2022 has all the stars are aligning for it to be a legendary year.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's going to be very exciting. Do we want to get into what we've been playing?
Yeah, I do. You want me to kick us off, or?
Yeah, do it.
So I picked up The Binding of Isaac Repentance recently, and I'm a little late to this party, but and to be clear, when The Binding of Isaac came out like 10 years ago or whatever, I really liked it. Like, I fell in love with that game hard. I don't think I really dove into it until like my freshman year of college, which was not 10 years ago. That was closer to like six or 5 years ago. So like, I think Afterbirth had just come out and I was playing that. And I just really liked it. I liked that like there were rewards, like there were special bosses, there were secret characters and everything. I really liked all that. It was kind of genre defining between it and Spelunky. They're like the classic roguelite games or roguelike games, depending on, it's a scale. I don't understand why anybody is playing The Binding of Isaac anymore. Like, I don't understand how Repentance, like how people are still watching an episode of Northern Lion playing The Binding of Isaac every night. I don't understand, because while Repentance is good, it really does just kind of add stuff. The game didn't meaningfully change as far as I can tell. Like, there were balance changes and stuff, but it still really feels like an old game. Like, it doesn't feel... It just feels really dated to me, especially when, like, I've played Enter the Gungeon, which, while I'm not going to say this is objectively true, in my opinion, Enter the Gungeon took the Binding of Isaac formula and then improved it in every conceivable way. And like it just kind of made the Binding of Isaac just obsolete to me. So I was wondering if you guys have any take on that, because it's really weird for me. Like,
I've actually not played The Binding of Isaac yet. Like, I always hear it's kind of like the father of roguelikes almost.
It and Spelunky. I think Spelunky's considerably older than The Binding of Isaac, I think, but Spelunky Classic at least.
Yeah, so I definitely been meaning to play it, and I know NL plays it quite regularly.
Yeah, he's still really
beyond that.
He like just recently because of like his child. I even think the birth of his child, he didn't miss any episodes of Binding of Isaac. He releases one a day.
Yeah,
he just recently missed a few because his child got sick. Yeah,
but yeah, I unfortunately I don't have any comments at this time.
I think it's weird, and I was hoping somebody would argue with me, because I don't understand it. I don't get how culturally sort of this game, other than that it was first, how it still takes up so much space in the genre when it's been done so much better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I kind of want to put it up against Spelunky 2, because I kind of contradict myself here. Spelunky 2 is also just kind of adding stuff to Spelunky 1. It kind of just replaces it, but also I want to point out, Spelunky 2, in my opinion, kind of replaces Spelunky 1. There's not a lot of reason to go backwards. But Spelunky 2 costs $25, and if you want the full Binding of Isaac experience, I think you're spending more than $60 on that game, because you have to buy Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and then you have to buy Afterbirth, and then you have to buy Afterbirth Plus, and then you have to buy Repentance.
Interesting. I didn't realize they were like expansions like that. I thought you just bought Repentance and you got everything.
I think you can buy Repentance, but it's like a $60 package that includes all the DLC. So like, kind of wild to me, because if you're asking me, Spelunky 2, way more fun than The Binding of Isaac Repentance. Love that game. And I think they compare and contrast pretty well, because they're from a similar era.
Yeah.
But also, like, I was always going to like Spelunky 2 more. I love platformers and stuff. But Spelunky 2 definitely has me contradicting myself, because Spelunky 2 is really just Spelunky 2. They didn't shake up the genre at all, really. They just kind of added some more choices and stuff. And like, the density of choices you make in Spelunky 2 is incredible. Like, I was thinking about it from a design perspective earlier this week. There's a floor early in the game where there's this guy called Yang, and he wants some turkeys. And there are turkeys on the floor for sure, and you have so many options with these turkeys, because when you're riding a turkey, kind of like Yoshi, it improves your mobility. You can Yoshi jump off of it, and also if you get hit while riding a turkey, the turkey takes the damage instead of you, so it's kind of like a buffer there. You can also drop a bomb, and a bomb will cook these turkeys, and there are 2 of them that you can get for free, and you can steal an additional one from Yang if you want to fight him, and you can cook these turkeys, and that's 3 HP or 2 HP if you don't want to fight. But if you deliver them to Yang, then he'll give you a key, and there's like a chance at loot. And just like this all happens within 3 minutes in the game, and like that density of choice is just huge. There's so many choices you have to make, and Spelunky 2 is full of that. You're constantly making significant choices, whereas in The Binding of Isaac, Repentance, you make like 1 choice per floor essentially. The rest is just skillful gameplay.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've been comparing and contrasting them in my head. I'm pretty addicted to Spelunky 2 right now, which is like probably more so now than when it came out, which is kind of funny. But very good.
I mean, it's one of those evergreen games, right? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, I was playing Spelunky HD, and before that I was playing Spelunky Classic. Like, Spelunky has been a pretty permanent fixture in my life since like 2006 or something.
Yeah.
Very good video game. Still waiting on cross-platform multiplayer, Derek. I would really like that soon.
I can go next.
Yeah.
If you're done.
Yep, go for it.
So I've been playing Loop Hero.
Good game.
Which
did you get
was mentioned
on Epic Games? Like,
no, I got it on Switch.
Oh, it was free on Epic Games recently.
I only played it was like on sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I only paid a couple bucks, but like,
it's a good video.
Yeah, this is an interesting game, right? So it's how would I describe it? It's like a it's like an auto battle. It's an auto battling. Yeah, it's like an idle game, but it's like an auto battling roguelike deck building game.
Super on the roguelite side, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, definitely in that genre. Yeah.
The way it works is, so you play as this hero, right? And like, basically everything has been destroyed, like an apocalypse has happened, and humanity is basically ended, and you start out in this small settlement, and you have to like venture out into the world and like remember the world, because like everything has been forgotten as well. And as you remember the world, you can remember the world in the form of like different cards. So you have like meadow cards and like stone cards, mountain cards. So you can remember these things, and that becomes like the terrain for your map. So as you put like a mountain card down, you can place a mountain on the map, and then it'll like come into existence. It's a really kind of weird, abstract story, but like, your character just progresses in a loop, like just over and over again. And as you come across traverse the loop, you fight enemies and stuff, and you don't do any actual inputs. You can get gear and stuff to equip onto your character to do more damage and stuff, but like the battling is all automated, right?
Yeah.
And each time you do the loop, the enemies become stronger, and eventually a boss shows up, etc. And it's interesting because like, at any point, like, you complete a loop, you can go back to your camp and take all of your spoils with you. But if you die on the, while you're doing a loop, you can only take like 30% of the spoils with you. So you have to like manage that risk as you like complete a loop. It's like, okay, look at my health, like look at my gear. Like, do you think you can survive another loop?
Yeah.
Because as you progress, each loop gets tougher and tougher because you put down cards, and some of the cards spawn enemies. And so the loop becomes more populated with enemies the more loops you do. But, the rewards also become better too. Like, you get more resources. So it's definitely a game where you have to, the risk reward is like a very prevalent choice in that game at all times. And, when you go back to your camp with your resources, you can build like things to help your settlement. Like, you can build like a kitchen or a forge and a farm or that sort of thing. And like, these things can, improve the gameplay like during the loop, like, or you could unlock new classes and stuff like that, or you can unlock perks and stuff for your character. I think like XP is kind of locked away at the beginning of the game until you build a specific building in your settlement, and then you can start gaining XP and leveling up. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's just it's a really unique game. I think that's the best thing to say about it. There's nothing quite like this that I've played before.
Yeah, I like this game, but it does do a couple of things that don't sit right with me. It one, like, it commits the cardinal sin of a roguelite in my mind, which is that like the game is not like you shouldn't win a roguelite on your first try, but like it should be possible in my opinion. Like, if that makes sense, like you should lose because you're not good enough yet, not because you literally don't have the tool set to win.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like with this game, it's just I think luck plays almost too big of a role in this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's very little, like the only actual skill I think is in one, the card placement, and two, deciding whether to run or not. Like,
yeah, and that's another thing that kind of bugs me is that much like Forager, which you if you longtime fans of the show will remember my rant against this game, it like demands just enough of you. Loop Hero does that I don't feel like I could do something else, like have it on my second monitor while I'm doing something else.
And yeah, like, because those decisions you have to make, you actually have to sort of think about sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So. And like, but not enough of me to necessarily like. If I played Loop Hero for 3 hours, I would feel like I did nothing for 3 hours, kind of. Even though I might have like had an okay time while I was playing it, I don't think I would feel good at the end of that, and that's why I really haven't played very much of it.
Yeah,
it is essentially an idle game that you can't walk away from.
Yeah, like I think my thoughts are similar, right? Like I beat chapter 1, and I'm currently in chapter 2, and I'm not really feeling compelled to play it. Like I'm glad I played as much as I did, and I might play it, just on and off in the future, but like I feel like I got the experience. Like I'm sure maybe the game opens up even more later on.
I think it's a good Switch game, right? Because you could I would not feel bad about playing this in a car or on a train or something.
Exactly. Yeah, like I was in a car, I was in a plane, like over December often. And Loop Hero was a very good way to pass the time in those moments. But, like, I don't know, like, I feel like after maybe 10 hours, you've kind of exhausted, like, everything you need to see from a game like Loop Hero. But, that's not to say that, like, I feel like if Loop Hero 2 became a thing, I feel like it could be an excellent game. But I think Loop Hero by itself is just simply a good game, which is a good thing.
I've heard that from other people as well. So
yeah. So I think those are my thoughts on Loop Hero. Fun little game, very unique. Mike,
it's time. Oh man, that's an Ace Combat meme to start this one off. Already on a good start. I played through all of Ace Combat and the DLC missions in like 3 sittings over the last 2 weeks.
How many hours is that? I'm kind of afraid to ask.
15-ish hours, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad, actually.
I still want to play more of it, though.
That's the sign of a great game.
Oh, it's so much fun. There's a couple segments, because the second to last mission, there's a segment where all of, like, the narrative and music all coordinate together. Down to the dialogue because they delayed the game just to rewrite it around one song.
That's
and the music hits a pitch just as the shield goes down on this big drone that's carrying all these other drones. And it hits. It brought tears to my eyes the first time I experienced it, and that never happens in games.
Wow. Yeah, also, man, like music is a powerful thing.
Oh yeah, the Ace Combat soundtrack, at least 7 soundtrack, is so good. Like, there's not a bad track in it. And the gameplay I've already talked about, because I talked about Project Wingman, and it's just Project Wingman, but more anime.
Yeah, and plus, Project Wingman was inspired by Ace Combat, right?
Yeah, they were both a response to Ace Combat 0/6 or 5. One was just a fan game, because there wasn't an Ace Combat in development when it was announced.
Yeah.
But Ace Combat 7 just plays like Project Wingman with a budget. But the whole storyline of Ace Combat 7 is so convoluted. Maybe because I hadn't played any of the other older Ace Combat games.
Well, you said it's like an anime kind of air combat game.
No, so going back into the 90s in the Ace Combat world, a country nukes itself 7 times.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only time nukes were used in Ace Combat. It was the country nuking itself out of spite.
What?
Yeah, they nuked themselves because they were losing a war. So they created a border.
That's some... I'll have to check the math on that one, but the logic doesn't really make sense right now. But
so, by virtue of them nuking themselves, they were real mad about that, so they've influenced every single war after that war.
Oh, okay, so it was like a kind of underhanded thing.
Yeah,
that does sound very much like an anime plot. So
yeah, it's Strange Real's crazy. It's just a justification for planes to fight planes without nuclear deterrence. So instead, the DLC missions have you fighting a submarine that fires nuclear railgun shots.
Oh my God.
Railgun shots?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like something out of Factorio.
It's so cool. The sea that comes out of the sea and Latin chanting starts. And at that moment, you know.
That does sound like a cool moment. Yeah. I should play I should play this game.
You definitely should.
Because I don't think final battle gameplay that much, but I think I would really get into the set pieces.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all set pieces. The entire game is just one large set piece. The story's actually really good too, because you start off as this like rookie pilot being trained by another pilot. You accidentally, maybe definitely don't assassinate the ex-president with an accidental missile shot. So you're sent to a prison battalion. Where you spend, a penal battalion.
Oh my God!
You're in the middle of a war, so they recruit these prisoners to just rev up jets on a runway, and when they come to bomb the runway, they scramble the jets with no weapons to look important to scare the bombers off.
Oh my God!
So eventually, they start bombing the control tower, and they turn your guns back on. And so they start sending you on more and more missions until you shoot down this ancient man who's fought every other ace in the sky and single-handedly has a body count in the 3s of named characters.
What a strange anime game.
Every time the ace appears, he shoots down a named character. So, I mean...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He kills a named character because when you get shot down, most of the time you're just dead. Because ejector seats aren't a thing.
So, what I'm gathering is you actually have to like play the previous Ace Combat games to fully comprehend the story.
Maybe a little. Maybe a little. Maybe a little. I mean, to get the gist of it, it explores towards the end of the game. It explores themes of like AI and how that can go rogue because the satellites go down and the entire country's autonomous drones. Their last order was continue the war.
Of course.
And they made drone factories that were autonomous as well.
Yeah,
And they were researching the top ace, Mihaly, who you had just shot down and used his flight data to program super drones.
So are you fighting drones a lot in this game?
Not that much. You're fighting usual people.
Mm.
Most of the game, you're just fighting either pilots or a mix of pilots and drones. The big fight against the Arsenal birds, against a drone carrier. And that's the cool fight. And then the next fight, you find Hugin and Moonin, the 2 drones that were inspired by Mihai's flight data. And that's a fight. You have this epic choir, this one woman just wailing in the background as the synth is playing in the bottom. Then occasionally the strings come back in. You're just like, ugh. And then you go through a tunnel chasing a drone.
Oh, wow.
Under a space elevator. You kill the drone.
What year does this take place?
It's in Strange Real. It's just go along with it. This isn't Earth anymore. We were never on Earth to begin with.
Okay.
They built a space elevator.
I like space
So the only logical way out of this space elevator underneath of it is to fly up the space elevator.
Excellent.
So you do a tunnel run vertically.
This is nothing what like I expected in Ace Combat.
Oh, yeah, it's so cool.
But this seems pretty awesome.
This is awesome. I died a lot trying to get into that space elevator because it requires you to do some crazy stuff to actually do it cleanly. And if you touch the terrain, you do die. And the whole tunnel run, the tunnel is barely as wide as some of the planes. So you're scraping it. Was a great experience from bottom to top. The entire time I was just excited to play more.
That's awesome. This is Ace Combat 7, right?
Yeah. Now I gotta go back and play all the PlayStation ones.
Project Wingman. Like if you had to pick one.
Oh, Ace Combat 7. There's a lot more replayability in 7.
That's kind of what
I still have a bunch of named aces to hunt down.
Yeah.
Like Project Wingman doesn't give me a reason to replay the campaign. but I feel like replaying through Ace Combat just to experience it again is worthwhile.
Okay.
You have anything else, Connor?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Halo Infinite's campaign. Have you played it, Mike?
No, I didn't pay for it yet. I didn't buy it.
And you've played a little bit of it, right, Ahmed?
I've not even started the campaign. I've played a little multiplayer. That's it.
Okay. Well, I played a bit of it, and I like Halo Infinite, but I do feel like I need to eat my words a little bit, because I was talking about this campaign like it was going to be like this incredible thing, and it isn't. Like, it's good. It's a good Halo game, but this open world is not very fun to me. Like,
so Connor, one thing I've heard is like the beginning of the game where it's sort of more linear is like the best part of the game, right? Like the first few levels or whatever, and then when it opens up,
yeah, the first few levels are linear in a way that is good. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I hear the end of the game is linear in a way that is bad. But I did. I enjoyed the first few levels a lot, and then the world opened up. But every time I'm in the open world, I just kind of find myself thinking, like, why is this here? Like, it doesn't make the game worse, but it, like...
doesn't make the game better?
No, I wouldn't even say that. It just, like... It's an open world game in a post Breath of the Wild world that learned nothing from Breath of the Wild. Like, it is absolutely an Ubisoft open world. Like,
I was gonna say, so is this like an Ubisoft?
It's a Far Cry game with Halo stuff.
That sounds very unappealing.
Yeah, and it does all of it well, but it's Far Cry open world. Like, you go, you capture a base, and then some stuff is marked on your map, and you go do that stuff, and like every single area looks exactly the same.
So maybe 343 was relying on the strength of Halo Infinite's gameplay to carry you through like the open worldiness.
And that gameplay is sublime. But I will say, like, when I'm in the open world and I have to get in a car and drive somewhere, I'm not having fun. That's like, it's exactly the same as getting in my car and driving to Kroger. Like, it sucks. It's stupid and bad, and I don't know why it's there. But I will say, it is better than in other Halo games. Like, the alternative has always been like Halo missions start off really slow for some reason. And like the other games that I've played, where they're like, where you're they have the part where you're walking into the mission. And I will say that like the open world part where you're actually like making a game plan and deciding how to go take like an area or something, that part is good. Like, in an almost Metal Gear Solid 5 kind of way, where like you make a plan of attack, you have your grappling hook, you can be a little stealthier, or you can go in guns blazing. That's all cool. But I am left wondering if big levels would have been better than an open world, because I really just don't care for this open world at all. Like, all the bases.
I really feel like it would be better. Yeah. Like I would prefer that to just an open world where there's little meaningful things to do.
Yeah, and to be clear, I haven't spent a ton of time in the open world because I find it extremely boring. And I think it'll be better once co-op is in the game. It is actually kind of damning that this game released without co-op. That kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't have a lot. The multiplayer's really good, but that's free. I think it's a hard sell to tell somebody who's not already really into Halo to buy the Halo campaign for $60, which I'm eating my words a little bit because Mike said that and I called him wrong. And no, it's definitely, this campaign exists for people who have Game Pass. It's a hard sell at $60 because it's very feature incomplete. It doesn't have co-op. It doesn't have online. It just...
kind of disappointing.
I hear the story's bad from people who like the Halo story. I'm just kind of like along for the ride. I like the characters. I think the weapon is interesting.
It's interesting. Like, I think Microsoft, they still have yet to put out like an exclusive that has a really good story on the level of like a Sony story. I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they've done that yet.
That said,
like Psychonauts 2 was on PlayStation as well. Yeah.
The moment-to-moment gameplay, like the shooting and stuff, is better than any Halo game has ever been, like by a lot. It feels extremely good, and I like it, but it doesn't. I don't know. Even when I'm in the missions, I'm having a pretty good time and stuff. Like, the actual story missions are all pretty fun for me so far. It's just the open world. Just, I don't know. And like people, I've seen online, a lot of people are saying like comparing it to Breath of the Wild's not fair because that's not what they were going for. But the developers themselves did at some point literally say that their ambition was to have a Breath of the Wild style open world, and it's not that. Like there are no systems interacting here, not really. There's no like the thing that is worst about it for me is that you cannot walk around this open world and find something interesting to do. It's just not possible. You have to open your map and go to a waypoint. Like, there's no landmarks. Everything looks exactly the same. There aren't even biomes in this. It's all like Halo 1 style grassy fields and stuff.
And I think one of the strengths about Breath of the Wild and what made that open world so special is that you can be anywhere on that map, not look at a map, and just look around you can anywhere.
You can find something. You can see the castle. You can
find something interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And this level design, like, or not level design, this world design has zero landmarks. There's nothing. There's no notable piece of geometry in this world. Everything looks exactly the same. And that it's really bad. It's not. I felt like I was looking at the map more so to navigate than I was looking with my eyes. And that is, in a world that has Breath of the Wild, but even more so than Breath of the Wild, like in a world that has Outer Wilds and a world that has Sable, like it's not like Outer Wilds has some secret sauce that can't be recreated. Indie game developers have recreated this already. And the most expensive video game of all time, right? Like, couldn't do it. That kind of sucks to me.
I don't like doing this, but I do want to. I think it's worth saying that like we kind of maybe predicted this before Halo Infinite came out. Like because we said that 343 might just not have the chops to pull it off. Like it's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I think at the end of the day,
like all of my complaints are about the open world. The game itself, like this is still like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 game. Like it's really fun. I've enjoyed my time with it. It's just I wanted the open world to be something that it is not at all.
Like there were rumblings that this Halo game was going to be legendary, right? Like on the scale of something like Halo 2 and 3. But like, and obviously the multiplayer might be that, right? But like those games had an excellent campaign and an excellent multiplayer. So
yeah. And as somebody who doesn't care about the Halo story, I have a hard time grading it on that. I'm immersed in the story. I like it. I care about the weapon. I'm interested in what's going on with like Cortana being gone. I do think it's a little lame that this is my first post-Covenant Halo game. I've only played Halo 1, 2, 3, and I've played through 4. I guess that was you weren't fighting the Covenant, but the Covenant.
Yeah, 4 was post-Covenant.
Huh?
4 was post-Covenant.
Okay, but like you're fighting the Banished now, and like the Banished are just the Covenant again. Like not narratively, but like the enemies are. It's elites, it's grunts, it's brutes, it's hunters.
Come on, guys.
Like the AI is improved and everything, but yeah, it's like there's like one new enemy type so far, I think. So I don't know. That was a little disappointing for me. But not that it wasn't the end of the world. You're right. I don't think it's like the god tier game that Halo 3 was, the cultural icon.
It's not, and it's interesting
because like the gameplay's there. The gameplay, the systems, I do think there. It's really just a design and story problem.
I do think the first couple weeks Halo Infinite was out, like it was in that conversation. It was like, could this be like the legendary return of Halo? Yeah. And I think, it's just one of those things where like it sort of fizzled out after a couple weeks, and now it's just a good game, right?
Yeah, I really do think that like the gameplay's there. The like when I am in a fight and I am running around with this grappling hook, and I am like something I've pointed out is like I've heard people say like, man, it doesn't have like the cool cutscenes and stuff that Halo is known for, where you get to see Master Chief be like this total badass. And my argument against that is that they don't need them anymore. Because this is the first Halo game that lets you feel it. Like they don't need a cutscene for Master Chief to feel like an unstoppable force in this game, because you have the tool set to actually be cutscene Master Chief in this game.
Also, aren't there issues with the cutscenes in this game?
I haven't had any.
Okay. I remember Digital Foundry talking about something like that. I don't know if they've resolved that or not.
Maybe. I haven't had any technical issues with this game other than like one that I'll give them. It's not the game, it's the Game Pass app. 1 second.
And Connor's cat started fighting again.
Yeah, our third co-host or our fourth co-host. We have three of us. But yeah, I didn't run into technical issues except the Game Pass app on PC, which is horrible, and it's always been terrible. And I wouldn't use it if Game Pass wasn't such a good service. But like, the load times were kind of long, and I was like, hey, let me move this game from my hard drive to my SSD so that the load times are shorter. And it just deleted the campaign completely, and all I had was the multiplayer now. Like, why did you do that? Like, that was a 40 gig or something download that I had to re-download.
Oh, man. I don't know. It does feel, unfortunately, it does feel like a lot of the time, like PCs, like second-class citizens for a lot of first-party games, which is kind of wild, but...
Yeah, well, no, yeah, the problem is that if I bought it on Steam, I wouldn't have had this problem. Steam has a very elegant tool that moves you from, if you want to move stuff between drives, you just click move, and it works. The Game Pass app is just really bad, and the Windows Store is really bad. They're unusably bad.
Yeah, it kind of makes me glad that Sony is launching their games on Steam, right? Like, just let Steam handle all of that, please.
Yeah, because Steam has a good service. I wish, and there are talks about it all the time that it might happen. I don't think it will, but there are talks that like someday Game Pass will just go through Steam. Like, that would be awesome, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I think Microsoft's very...
They need their cut of the pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that would be a good deal for Steam, for Valve, or for Xbox to do that. So, But yeah, I mean, Halo Infinite, I know I've ragged on it a bit, but that's because I already said all the good stuff. Like when I was talking about the multiplayer, everything I said then is still true. Like the gunplay in this game, incredible. The game feel, incredible. The moment to moment gameplay and combat and stuff is incredible, but it really is like an open world where you just have to get in a car and drive, and that's like all it adds to the game for me.
See, I definitely will try it soonish, I think, right? Like, but it's not higher on the list for me than something like Inscription.
No, so. I honestly, like, obviously I would put Outer Wilds higher on your list if I had a choice, but like Inscription definitely.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, the main reason I haven't played Outer Wilds yet is because the version I have on PlayStation is locked at 30 frames per second, and I don't feel like purchasing it on PC. That's like
it got put back on Game Pass.
I need to buy Game Pass again then to do that. But okay, so we done with Halo? All right,
done with Halo. Yeah.
One more game for me, and then I'll be done for the episode. I've been playing Hades again.
It's a good game. So there's something in the air, right? Like I've just had a real roguelike itch recently.
Yeah, I don't know what it is for me. Like, it's just with Hades. So it's interesting, right? Coming back to Hades. Hades was like, I think, the first roguelike I ever played. And since then I've played a lot. And so I feel like I'm a lot more seasoned when it comes to roguelikes. And I can sort of see your criticisms now, Connor.
Right. It's a little easy when it's not your first roguelike. Like the difficulty scaling and stuff there. Or the design of the difficulty is not incredible in my mind.
But what I will say, and what Hades kills all other roguelikes on, is the characters are just god tier in Hades.
Yeah, you're right.
The voice acting is god tier. The music is god tier. Like,
I might push back on like the idea that no other roguelike has music as good as Hades, but it is good in Hades.
It's just so good in Hades. I mean, like,
clearly speaking from someone who hasn't seen or hasn't heard the Hisi-based music from Noito.
This is true.
Because that it slaps. It's so good.
But the music in Hades just freaking rocks, dude. It gets you so amped.
What's her name? The muse when you find her, the tree lady. Eurydice.
Eurydice, yeah.
Yeah, when you find her, that music just.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you got far enough. Did you discover Orpheus?
Yeah, I beat Hades.
Yeah, so or did you get to the part like even after you like beat Hades, you can unlock more stuff? By the way,
yeah, I know. I beat him 3 times. I think you have to beat him 10 or something.
So eventually, if you dive more into Orpheus' story, you find out that like he was like in love with Eurydice or whatever, right?
You could also know Greek mythology, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I did know that though. Yes.
But like, and like. Where you are in the game, like at the beginning, like once you first get him, he's just like he doesn't want to sing anymore, right? Like because he's too depressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those big gaming memories for me. Walking into Hades' like courtroom or whatever, and seeing Eurydice playing the same, or seeing Orpheus playing Eurydice's song, like that really hit me. Like when you finally get him to sing again, like that was such a moment.
I think that's important for a lot of reasons too. That's one of the things that Hades does better than pretty much any other roguelike I've played, is that hub world that is the House of Hades.
Yeah, House of Hades, yeah.
Because Spelunky 2 has one. It's not very good. And like none of the other roguelikes I play have that at all. And I really like that. That is an extreme that bit of time to decompress and look at what's changed in the hub world and everything really fights the tilt from like losing a good run.
Yeah. And also like I feel like the dialogue is just endless in this game.
Yeah, right? I know. Like, it just keeps going. Yeah.
Always new dialogue. New characters like talk to each other and say new things. You talk to the characters, and there's always new things that Zagreus is saying. Like,
yeah, when people told me that there were like dating sim elements to the game, I thought that they were like exaggerating on like just the fact that you could talk to everybody and give gifts and stuff. No, you can actually like form meaningful relationships with other characters in this game, and I just never got to that point.
See, it's worth mentioning. I have restarted Hades, so I'm playing again from the very beginning.
Yeah,
and how
does it feel to you? Like, because it really bothered me, the level up system in Hades. I really don't like it.
I think it's okay. I think it's done better in different roguelikes, but like, I think the difficulty is also just fine, right? Like, but like, I think there's obviously some combinations that just steamroll the game.
Yeah, right? my problem with Hades is really like I mentioned it earlier, is that like Hades does not feel winnable to me on that first run. Like,
no, it's not. It's absolutely not. Yeah,
and that bothers me because I feel like Zagreus got better more so than I got better, and I don't like that very much.
Okay, yes, I see where you're coming from now. Yeah, so as far as like a roguelite is concerned, this game is probably the most on the light side of the spectrum than any other roguelite I have played, because like you mentioned, like it can be done, but you'd have to be like a god tier level like player to beat that game on your first try. Right, like, and it would be miserable, right? Because you do so little damage, and like you have so little health, and like, but like you said, Zagreus becomes permanently stronger after each run, and that's really what makes the game easier.
Now, I will say that it makes up for it a bit with the heat system that you get after you've beaten it, where you can add stuff to make the game harder. And I barely explored that, but I did like it. My only beef with it is that like, you're making these decisions before you even start a run. And like other roguelikes sort of have this, where you make these decisions that are going to affect your difficulty. Like in Noita, there are optional bosses. In Spelunky, there are optional paths and things. But these are decisions you make as you're going, when you kind of know your momentum. And I also just think that they're literal like choices you make in the game versus like they make sense in universe. Versus like looking at a menu in Hades.
Yeah,
it's not as cool to me. But
I will say, like, I really
that too hard.
I really enjoy the power system though, like getting the boons from different gods and stuff, and then like and like if you have a boon from like a certain god, the other god will comment on it and possibly give you like a fusion of the two boons. It's just like
the personality is cool, the synergies are cool.
Yeah,
the combination of the two boons. I know you're not as versed in the roguelikes, but that's called a synergy, and Binding of Isaac is like infamous for items that work well together and synergies and stuff. And there are like canonical synergies versus like synergies just because the stats that it gives you go well together.
Yeah.
And I think Hades does do it well. Granted, it doesn't do it as much as some of the others, but yeah, I really like the synergies in Hades.
And another thing I'll just comment on is Hades, like the boss himself at the end of the game, he's a hard boss. Like,
he is, yeah. It took me, God, I probably got to him like 5 times before I finally beat him.
He is tough. He is no joke. Like, even after you beat him once, there's no guarantee you're going to beat him every time after that. Like,
I can't agree with that. I have beat him every single time since the first time.
Really? Yeah, no, that's
I learned the patterns pretty good, and I also just, he doesn't bother me too much now. But granted, they were all good run. Like, if I have a run that gets all the way to Hades, it's probably a really good run. because the filter for me is still the Minotaur.
Elysium, yeah.
Yeah, I still get filtered pretty hard by that boss fight.
So I don't know,
that boss fight, I'm almost guaranteed to beat the game.
So in my latest runs that I've been playing, I've been just getting to Hades pretty much every time and dying to him, which is great.
Okay. I think maybe the pattern for Hades just clicked better for me than the pattern for those two did.
Yeah. So
like,
I always
focus. My first win was with the shield, and you can really cheese him with the shield.
Yeah, so my first win on my replay was when I unlocked like an aspect of the shield where you could like throw it and it would like do damage over time or whatever, and it just like wrecked everything. But like as far as the Minotaur and the champion go, I always focus the Minotaur down first and then focus the champion. Like if you fight them both at once, they both become stronger like halfway through, and it's just like a mess.
Yeah, I've always beat the Minotaur first as well.
Yeah,
because I don't think the champion. What, he has a name? I can't remember it. But anyway,
they both have names, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, he's not nearly as bad as the Minotaur is. Although I saw that they have a pretty bonkers thing that they get on a certain heat level that looked really hard.
Yeah, so like that's the crazy thing. Like when I first played Hades, I had beaten Hades, like maybe like the boss Hades like 3 or 4 times or whatever, and then I put the game down. But like that's not even close to finishing the game, I think. Like there was still so much dialogue being unlocked and stuff. So
no, you have to win 10 times just to get the like full ending.
Yeah. And then I think there's an epilogue even past that.
Yeah.
Maybe. But like yeah, it's just there's so much game here, and I think more so than the actual like roguelite mechanics, I think what makes Hades so special is just it's the presentation and the characters. Like
it is the best story in roguelikes probably.
Yeah,
really. Yeah, well, I don't know about Returnal, but
yeah,
I mean, I've played, it is the best delivered story probably. Like Noita has a story, but Noita has lore more than a story.
So even more than the story for me, it's just the characters, man. Like I can't think of a single character that's like bad in this game. Like they're all like so well realized and like they're so beautifully voice acted. Like
yeah,
everyone looks and sounds so good in this game. Which is not something you'd expect from a roguelite. So
no, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting take on the genre.
But I think, yeah, we've already talked about Hades before on the show, so let's not belabor the point too much. Mike, do you have another one?
I don't think I played House Flipper a little bit, but
House Flipper.
It's what it does. It's what it says on the tin. You flip houses.
Yeah, it looks fun, but yeah,
it's enjoyable.
Is it in VR?
I do have it in both. I haven't touched it in VR yet, though.
Okay.
Wait! I played Barotrauma.
What is that?
Have you ever heard of Space Station 13?
Yeah. Is it like that?
It's very much
so just pure
similar
chaos.
In a way. Me and a friend were playing it for a little bit. He was the doctor, I was the captain, and I'd be minding my own business and then hear the noise of a syringe being pushed into my side. And I saw a little status effect that said you are being paralyzed.
All right, someone needs to explain to me what this is.
It's very hard. Are you going to go for it, Mike, or should I?
So Barotrauma is a side-scrolling submarine simulator in quotations.
Yeah.
What it is like a
now I'm even more
confused.
It's
to
like
make a submarine go.
Yeah. Like in role play sense, right? Like
very little role play.
So like it's not leveling up and stuff. It's like you're given a role, and
there is a leveling up system though.
Huh?
There is a leveling up.
Oh, okay.
There's a leveling system.
PlayStation 13 because I don't know enough about this game. But.
So yeah. Your friend pushing a syringe into your neck probably inhibited the overall functionality of this submarine, right?
Yes, but it was funny. That's the thing. It's like Barotrauma. A lot of the fun of Barotrauma is the shenanigans that your crew can get up to because you can also turn on traitors. Like the first thing, when we first started, the first thing my friend did, because he was the doctor, was pull some sulfuric acid out of the cabinet, find the nearest assistant, and then proceed to inject him with sulfuric acid. Security didn't like that. So he was arrested and shot. These were bots.
Jeez.
God, I kind of want to try this now. Because Space Station 13 was fun when I played it in high school or whatever, but it didn't have the polish, I don't think.
And really Barotrauma also does a good job of making you feel claustrophobic and terrified of the outside of the sub, because you'll be exploring like an abandoned station, and you'll just see stuff float by you, or you'll start a zombie outbreak.
I just got a comment. I'm just like pretty impressed by the fact that Mike has recommended like several different submarine games on this show. Like it's kind of a marvel.
I keep finding them. I mean, Barotrauma, of all the submarine games I've played, Barotrauma is the least submarine game, because the only real submarine thing you're doing is in the captain's role, and you're just staring at sonar and trying not to hit cave walls.
Yeah, but you do have a type, Mike, and it is submarine.
It's planes. It's not submarines. I've only recommended 2 submarine games.
That's not true.
I feel like there's more than 2.
There's only been 2. There's only been...
No, I'm thinking of Bomber Crew. Bomber Crew is another plane game, but it is a lot like this.
Yeah, it's nothing like this.
No.
Well, if anything, Bomber Crew is a crew management game. It's like FTL.
It's systemic. Like,
yeah. I didn't play much Bomber Crew. I haven't even finished Bomber Crew.
You did talk about it on the show, though.
Yeah, I think I talked about it because I had nothing else to talk about.
I hate that just the way.
Yeah, Barotrauma, a lot of fun. You got to get a bunch of friends together to play it, though.
Does it not have
one of those? It does.
I feel like that would just be
servers. And if you've ever played public servers,
extra life game.
I feel like at least with your friends, you have a chance of like progressing through the game. Public servers, no chance.
On public servers, there's always going to be that one guy who's going to like color his skin black and be racist.
Well, like, but like, so Ahmed was saying, like, if this is like Space Station 13, the goal is not to progress through the game. Like, that's not
this game. There is a progression system though, and there is like satisfaction through progressing through like a campaign. Like you can do single missions. You can also do a campaign.
Because Space Station 13, you could be like a trader is not really the word, but like a saboteur. Like
there is a trader that you can turn on and off at whim.
Okay, yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, there's things you can do. You can either like make a functioning sub, or produce a nice reenactment of a society in decline, where one person dresses up as a clown and honks horns at people, and then eventually makes their way to the outside of the ship only to honk. Praise be to the honk mother, the mother of all clowns.
I really appreciate the flavor you bring to the show, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a devout follower of the honk mother and the clown code, because clowns in Barotrauma are meant to make people laugh, not to murder.
I'm still confused how this has anything to do with submarines, but
there's it's explained. It's all in the game. It's there.
Okay.
The dots, they're connecting. I have the tape.
All right. We got anything else, Mike, Connor?
Yep.
I have nothing.
All right. Somehow this episode went over 2 hours, and I think it's because we haven't recorded in so long. But yeah, I think next episode's going to be super fun because we're going to do our current I think we can do like our assessment of like where gaming is at in 2022 and what we can look forward to. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things to look forward to, not all just strictly games. Some other stuff on the horizon too. But I think that's going to do it for us. Game Talk episode 101. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at @podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, etc. Click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Lastly, thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
See you next week.